Hey guys, welcome to Poly On Demand. This is mistake number 5, and we're talking about the 7 mistakes that I made that if I can go back and change, I wouldn't do again. And this is mistake number 5, and mistake number 5 is really key to really understand. I started buying houses too far from my house to the house that I was flipping. And a lot of new people do this mistake. I always encourage people to buy a house at no more than 35 to 40 minutes away from your door where you guys live. So if you live in the north part of town, you want to buy in the south part of town, you can, but make sure that if you could get to the south part of town in 35 to 40 minutes, that's as far as I would go. And I made that huge mistake. And here's what happens. When you buy a house that's an hour and a half, 2 hours away, an hour and 15 minutes away, what happens is you start losing money on that property. And a lot of times when it's further away, it's more in a kind of a rural area, like a farmland area. And the further you go out, there is no Home Depot or Lowe's or big box warehouse. So your guys now are having to drive to pick up supplies. You're having to drive, you yourself or the property or the project manager is having to drive far to get supplies. That's number 1. Number 2, you can't manage it. It's too far, and you're constantly burning gas, going back and forth, burning time, and you're not maximizing your time per spent on the day. And so it just messes up the whole morale of the team. It messes up your morale because you're like, oh my God, I have to drive all the way an hour, 15 minutes. But remember, when you drive an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half, you got to drive back. That's 3 hours out of your time. Yes, you can do things on your phone in your car, and you could get things done on your cell phone because now with the smartphones and things like that, you can accomplish a lot more. But I could tell you, when I first started buying it too far, it seemed like I was making no money on the project. After it was all said and done, it took longer because it took your crews longer to get to it. It took longer to get supplies there, and it just didn't make sense. It wasn't good business. And you don't know how many of my students, when I first started teaching students, would make this mistake, and I had to put this in the mistakes that I made and they made too. So I constantly were grinding them, saying it's too far, don't do it. But yeah, it's a good deal, I stole it. You know what? It could be a good deal and you might be able to steal it, but remember, be cognizant of this. The further it is, even if it's a good deal, it takes a lot longer and you might not make money. I've gotten plenty of deals, unbelievable deals, because they were further out, but I could honestly say this, by the time it was all said and done, it wasn't worth doing it. I could have done so much better if it was a house 15, 20 minutes away. We as a company now are being more centrally located. We're trying to stay closer to the downtown area, and that's what I encourage you guys. So mistake number 5 is really important. Really put that in your memory bank. Go back to these tapes and these videos, because it's important to really refresh your mind, because sometimes you get overzealous and you're like, wow, this is a steal, and you think you're going to make all this money, and it backfires on you and the whole company. Remember, if you're project manager has to drive an hour and 15 minutes away, and your crews have to drive an hour and 15 minutes away, they're going to start resenting you, the leader. So be a leader and don't make that mistake. Mistake number 5, don't buy a house further than 35 to 40 minutes from your door. I'm signing off. I'll see you on mistake number 6.